He's the same forever. God can give the greatest victory to those who are willing to take the stand. He can do as much today with the Shema as He did in the days of Shema. The problem is, are there any Shemas left? I want to talk to you a minute about, to understand Shema and to understand how it applies to you, the difference in a house and a field. This is farming country, isn't it? And so you should know a little bit about houses and fields, shouldn't you? The house is just a part. The Bible tells us a lot about houses and fields, and if you go through the Bible and you read it, it says things like, first do your work in the field and then build your house. Now, why is that? Why would you do your work in the field before you build your house? Money to build a house, maybe food to put in the house. If you just get there in the summertime and you build the house and then the winter comes, well, you got a nice warm house, but you don't have any food to eat. You're not going to make it, right? Where does the livelihood come from? It comes from the field, not from the house. The house is a safe place. The house is the place where you go to get warm. The house is the place where someone's cooking up dinner, hopefully, and you can come and eat and find nourishment and strength to do what? To go back out in the field. But where's the work? Work's in the fields. What happens if all someone wants to do is just sit around the house? They starve. Isn't that right? You got to get up. Somebody's got to get them go to work every day, right? So that there can be a house, a safe place. Men say that the house is my castle. Well, okay, but it's not worth anything if you don't go out into the fields and make what you need to make for the house. I want you to understand that the Bible refers in the Old Testament to the house as the temple. And in the New Testament, the house is the church. This is the house. This is the place where we come to eat. This is the place where we come to get nourishment for another week. This is a place where somebody prepares a meal for us. The pastor, he studies throughout the week and he listens to God. And he takes and he gets the recipe and he breaks it all down. And then you sit down here and you don't even have to cook your own meal. He sits here and he feeds it to you every Sunday. You have teachers who prepare the meal for you and feed you, and it's nice to sit and have someone feed me. You have musicians who come and they practice and they work and they study and they come and they feed you on Sunday. You don't have to do that. They do that for you. And there are some people who are called primarily to the house because there's a lot of work to do at the house. Somebody has to do the cooking. Somebody has to do the cleaning. Somebody has to take care of the children and change the diapers. And somebody has to fight off the pests, the termites that try to eat the house. And somebody has to constantly do repairs on the house and work on the house. And so God designated in the Old Testament and in the New Testament some people whose primary responsibility is to work the house and to take care of the house. And their purpose is when you come to the house, I want you to understand if you are a member of this house, if you live here, you have a responsibility here. Just because your primary work might be in the field, that doesn't mean you don't have anything to do around the house. I go to work every day, but I still take out the garbage, right? I still have to mow the grass, right? Everybody has a chore to do around the house, but I want to explain something to you. What's done around the house is chores. The work is where? It's in the fields. What about those fields? What about that field work? When you go out in the field, you have to clear the land. The land's full of rocks, and the land's full of trees, and the land's full of briars, and you have to clear the land. That's the first thing you have to do in the land. And then you have to plow the land, and that's just hard work. And then you have to plant the seeds. And you plant those seeds in faith, hoping that one day they're going to grow up and they're going to provide some food for you. And you have to water them, and you have to depend on the Lord to help you water them, right? And you have to be careful of all the weeds and things that'll grow up and choke them out, and you have to work on those things. And then as it's growing, you have to watch it because the bugs will come. And they'll try to eat that harvest before you can. And when the harvest actually begins to grow, you don't just have to worry about the bugs, you have to worry about the varmints, the deer and the coons and all the things that live in the woods that want to come out and eat your harvest before you get it. So you have to protect the harvest while it's growing. And then one day, when it's ripe, you have just a little bit of a window where you can go out there and you can bring that harvest in. Is that right? And you harvest it and you have to bring it in. And sometimes, you're racing the weather and everything else to make that happen, but you got to do it. That's important. But you know what? In Bible days and in days like us, it's not just the varmints that live in the woods, and it's not just the bugs, and it's not just the drought, and it's not just the floods that can ruin your harvest. The Philistines were in the fields too, and the Philistines, they didn't want to plant, and they didn't want to harvest, they didn't want to clear the land, and they didn't want to toil over the soil. What they wanted to do was just show up when it got ripe and take it. They wanted somebody else to do all the hard work in the field, and then they just wanted to come in and take the fruit. Folks, I want you to understand that in America today, the Philistines are in the fields. We sang a song about how this was a Christian nation. This isn't a Christian nation anymore. Do you understand that? Do you know that other countries send missionaries to America to bring Americans to Christ because Americans are Christian in name only? But they're not true Christians. The story is told of Alexander the Great, and the man ran in battle. And under Alexander the Great, if you ran in battle, the penalty was death. They brought this young man to Alexander the Great, and they said, this man ran. He's a coward. He ran in battle. And Alexander the Great looked at him and said, son, what is your name? And he said, my name is Alexander. And Alexander looked at him and he said, you either change your name or you change your ways. You don't have the right to call yourself Alexander if you run in battle, because Alexander don't run. And there are a lot of people sitting maybe under the sound of my voice this morning that call themselves Christian, but you don't have the right to call yourself Christian. If you're not living the Christian life, if you're not a true follower of Jesus Christ, if you're not walking in His commands, if you're not obeying Him on a daily basis, if you're ashamed to stand up at your school and tell people you're a Christian, what He said is, then I'm ashamed of you. If you're too embarrassed to talk about me in a lost and dying world, then don't expect me when I come for you in the presence of my Father to say that's my child. If you're ashamed to confess me before men, I am ashamed to confess you before my Father. I won't do it. I won't stand up for you if you won't stand up for me. Don't call yourself by my name. The word Christian means Christ-like, and if you're not like me, do not tell people you're one of my followers. You're a liar. And I will expose you for the liar that you are. My children hear my voice, they follow me, they keep my commandments, they do the things I told them to do. I took up a cross and I died for the lost world, and if you're not willing to take up a cross and die for your friends, you are not my follower. Jesus said on Judgment Day, all kinds of people are going to stand before God and say, in your name I cast out demons, and in your name I did this, and in your name I did that, and I'm going to say, I don't know you. You're not one of mine. You don't understand. It's a privilege to call yourself by His name. And it is a mockery to Him when you call yourself by His name, but you don't do what He told you to do. Jesus said, be doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving yourself. If you're not living this book, friend, you're not a Christian. If you're not walking in His ways, you're not His child. He said, my sheep hear my voice and they follow me. If you're not following Him, you're not His. You're a pretender. You're a hypocrite. You're a fake. You're not the real thing. I want you to understand today the Philistines are in the field. They're in the fields because the church is not following Jesus. because most of those who call themselves by the name Christian will show up barely for